Hey, here we are back again at the 448th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, September 1st, 2022. First, I can begin by saying there's a number of comments as tributes to Mikhail Gorbachev. Antonio says he is a hero to me and many others, a man who served his people and the world. And there is another couple of comments in the YouTube as well. Truly, 777 Paulina says, truly a great man of peace. God bless Mikhail Gorbachev. And Jefferson says, good morning, everyone. Good evening. We lift the soul of Mr. Mikhail Gorbachev, and we thank you for your fight for peace and harmony, and so on. So just wanted to say that before we begin here. Okay, Mr. Kesh, are you ready now?
Yes, we are ready, willing and able, I hope. It's the beauty of understanding the work of Gorbachev. I, like many people in my age bracket, were touched and lived through this change. When you saw the Berlin Wall coming down, when East Germany opened up, when the other countries opened up, and everything was because of the decision of one man. Germany is united today because of his decision not to fight, not to open a bullet. And all the people who did that, all the generals were against him. And I remember clearly we had an office in Northern Holland at that time in 1980s. And those of you who are Dutch know exactly where this little village is, this town is. Our offices were in a beautiful place. There was like a horse in a small village center square. And a dog. A statue. Because I frequently went to our office there once or twice a week sometimes, we got to know the locals. And I was told that what this village is known for. This village, somebody in the village killed one of Hitler officers. And the rest of the village was not prepared to divulge who this man was, because they were there to get rid of the Germans. They knew a man has carried out this atrocity, or they assumed that it was done by a man. Hitler, doing what his ancestors' background did centuries ago, he killed every male creature in this community. Man, dog, cat. To set an example, to force the villagers to tell who it was, because when he killed all the men, children, boys, all were killed. To set an example. And the strangest thing is, in these offices we work with the Russian generals, with the Russian military, with Eastern Bloc military. Our counterparts were Romanian, Bulgarians, Russians, powerful generals, where we supplied the Western goods on a barter basis to the Eastern Bloc. Some of my workers always said we took a big risks. What we did, the Russians and the Bulgarians and the Eastern Bloc team working with us wanted to, there was a time when Russians were asking for, especially elite Russians wanted Western goods. And Russia would not pay, there was no currency, but they had food. We used to take 330,000 jars of jam and other things per week out of Russia and Eastern Bloc and give them what was the luxury items in the West. That time was Levi's 501, toiletries, toilet seats, bathroom luxuries, which we had in the West. Special things which they wanted to give. You can imagine 11 containers a week in the old Eastern trucks. If you remember, trucks coming from the East were pumping and popping all the way into England and taking back what was agreed to be given back. Electrical goods, luxury items. So I worked very closely. European operation was through my companies. And I came very close with this structure of the communists. I could see when the turning point came, how the generals and military people we worked with were disappointed. They saw it as that the Gorbachev sold them out. But Gorbachev had the wisdom of not seeing what happened in Ukraine today, 30 years ago. And I went through the change. I went to the poverty-stricken Russian satellite countries, the trucks and the things and the carpets which rolled out of Europe into Russia and Romania and Bulgaria, all the broken cars, damaged cars which was not worth running were getting trucked back into East to give them the car because they had no cars. Today, in Austria, when we look at the Ukrainians who are coming here as refugees, we see the most latest cars, Porsches, BMWs, Mercedes, Maybach, and the rest. 500,000, 250,000 cars. That time, they used to buy the cars for 200-300, crashed out, banged up. No insurance company allowed it to be. They took it back to Ukraine and the others to weld it, to mend it, to glue it together, that they could have something as similar as Motor West. And now they are the richest in the West. We see the change. And my great grandmother used to say, and I said before, with my little eyes, I've seen big things. We were pulled into bringing goods, anything from the East communist countries, to be able to put things back, food back into the West, into the East countries. Hundreds of thousands of buckets, changing tanks to pianos, and the rest of it was part of this work, part of the work of Gorbachev. I can write the history book of the change of revolution from actualist industrialist as a businessman who was part of this change. I walked on the human shopping streets in Moscow, in Romania, in Kazakhstan, in Uzbekistan, where people used to hold one pair of shoes, one shirt on a hanger whole day on the streets, hundreds and thousands of them next to each other, that somebody might buy that shoe and somebody might buy that shirt they could give it back to the wholesaler and have something to eat. We used to call it human shop. They had no money. I walked to the change of the time in Bucharest, walked into a shoe shop. I witnessed a woman walking in with a shoebox full of money to give to the shopkeeper to buy a pair of shoes. Shoebox of papers instead of the shoebox of pair of shoes. And all came because of Gorbachev. Lenin brought a new system. Gorbachev reversed the system. But Lenin brought with a lot of hardship. But Gorbachev brought with not a single bullet shot. I respected him. And in many of the talks I gave internationally, I always salute his courage. I was in Moscow when the Yeltsin put a tank bullet into the parliament, into the White House. And I've seen the bullets through the hotel rooms and the mayhem which went in Moscow for power. But in essence, what we see, the problem of today with the gas, what we see with the Ukraine is what Gorbachev walked away. We'll go back to questions if there are any questions, please.
Okay, we have a hand up. It's Dimitri. Hello, Dimitri. Would you like to go ahead?
Hello, thank you, Rick. Hello, Mr. Kesh. I've got a list of questions, but many of them, if not all of them, can be answered with a yes or no answer to get through them quickly to allow other people to ask questions or for you to share any more knowledge, if that's okay.
Well, we usually restrict about to 2 questions, but it's up to Mr. Kesh whether he wants to do it that way.
Answer the same 2 questions. Don't go any further, otherwise it'll be all one man show.
2 questions. Okay.
Yeah.
Just bear with me 1 second. All right, I'll ask the first question. I'll ask the others another time. The first question is related to what you've been discussing this morning. So the question is, can knowledge seekers participate in being satellite to help humanity with the harsh
In being
time?
what? In being what?
In being a satellite, as you mentioned earlier on in this workshop.
Yes, that's why we are asking you. Go there and register and do it.
But the question is it possible for knowledge seekers to participate and be a satellite, even if we don't have any money? I understand the Kesh Foundation needs money.
No. It's got nothing to do with the money. We put it up for people to register through it. We get thousands of people, just time wasters. We had a guy who actually came 2 weeks ago to Linz, trying to force us to let him in because he's a knowledge seeker into our factories and the rest. That is his right. We had to even tell the hotel people to put him out. He cannot, and get the police of Austria involved if need be. We have a reason we do it this way. You have to understand, we have a structure. We structure things in a certain way. It's nothing to do with a financial way.
Okay,
yeah.
So with that in mind, can I briefly looked on the link that was put up, and at the bottom of that page, it has a fee to pay. So even if I don't have that money to pay, can I register to be a satellite to help with what's coming?
Yes, but we
Right.
look at everything as it is. We're going to get thousands of people want to be satellite. The reason we are doing it is a special reason. We're going to link you up with telephone lines. It's not going to be, we're going to get 1,000 people to want to be the satellite. We are doing it especially for a special purpose. We have a lot of time research. We have a bunch of crooks in Belgium and the rest of the Europe. We are monitoring a lot of things. You understand?
Yes.
It's not just, I want to be a satellite and the rest of it. Even if you pay, we refund you if we don't agree with it. You understand? So it's nothing to do with that side. It's something we want to manage to control and test. We are not. It's not economical. It's being able to do the job the way we want to do it and achieve to what we have achieved.
Yes, I understand. Thank you very much for that. I'll be registering shortly.
Thank you very much.
My last question, my second question is, one, elevated and taking care of the totality within its magnetosphere. Will
Pardon?
the soul of...
Can you repeat?
Yes. Once elevated, and taking care of the totality within its magnetosphere, will the soul of the man process and transmute irregular physicality conditions, i.e. abnormal muscle growth due to injuries that were never attended to?
But that depends totally on the soul itself, not on us. What was the purpose? Why did it happen? Injuries or illness or whatever? Why did the soul accept such a position? You want to go to a system and get away from what you've done wrong? You got to understand, you can cheat every system, but not this one, because your soul is a witness.
The injury came from weight training.
It's irrelevant. You have to do it yourself.
All right. Thank you very much for answering my questions today.
Okay. Just looking here. I have a couple questions in the Q&A from Daniel, who says, Mr. Keshu, that you must be aware that it is not Russia and Gazprom that's not delivering. It is our government in Germany boycotting the Russian gas, driving prices into insanity. And as always, the globalists in America profit, as we are now even buying American fracking gas for insane prices. And that is supposed to be a green government we have. I mean, it's obvious the real problem is the general suppression of new technologies, but it is not right if you keep saying that Russia is responsible for Germany not having gas. It's our own government, moved like puppets on strings, following an American globalist agenda without regard for the suffering of their own people.
I comment on that in a very simple way. Absolutely simple way. Ukraine is the reason for this position. And Germany wants to stand on a free, what we call Europe. The speed that Ukraine was allowed to join EU and become part of it in the past few months, bypassing a lot of other things and a couple of other Western blocs, Western countries, is partially what you say is correct, but partially you have to understand that is not much for, what do you call it, for Germany to turn back and say, no, we don't do, we pay in rubles. It's a power play. You got to realize you work on different understanding of different things. We work on understanding of a totally different global condition. It was not the central bank of Europe sits in Berlin. Berlin sneezes, the whole of Europe catches cold. That's why Russia has targeted Germany. You decided to transfer all your gold reserves as Europeans, as a EU currency, into Berlin in 2000, prior to 2000. The Germans are targeted because they are the central position for Europe. Nothing to do. Germany went through the Second World War to take control of Europe. When it failed, they set up the EU, European Community. If you look at the Second World War, as Germans, what did Hitler do? Directly went from one central bank to another, drove all the way to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to Brussels, Brussels to Paris, into the central banks. Exactly what the British did in North Africa a few years ago. When depleting the reserves of the European nations which Hitler took, taking all of it back into Switzerland, making guns and the rest of it, it didn't work with the gun policy. Now, economical policy, which was the main reason, was there. And what's the position with EU? If you accept euro as a currency in 1990s, you transferred your gold reserve to Berlin. Exactly what Hitler did. But this time he did it willingly. So when you look, it's nothing to do with your government, it has everything to do with the German government. You took over Europe, made the EU, and made the central bank in Berlin exactly how it was in 1940s. And now we are the decision makers. And the other side of the coin is why Russia is pushing to be paid in rubles. Because now the BRICS is putting pressure on it. It's not just Russia, China sitting behind it. It's a multitude of positions, and German government over work of past 40 years has booked themselves as a central government to be in that position. You say the center of operation of the EU is Brussels. Brussels has no teeth if Berlin doesn't pay any money out. I hope you understand exactly what I'm talking about. It's nothing to do, is targeting the heart of the operation by the Russians. And secondly, it would have come, in a way, Ukraine is an excuse. They would have found another way to come in. And Vatican pushed with it, and they would come. Look at the situation globally, not just German situation. You as Germans, we always respected you, we always admire the way you work, but now you have to see how you've been targeted. Microchips, all the chips in your cars, now they control the economy of the biggest industry, which is majority of your incomes. Mercedes, BMW, Volkswagen, Audi, and the rest are limited in production because they're not receiving enough chips through the Chinese operation, Taiwan, and the rest of it. Taiwanese cannot produce the chips if the Chinese don't supply it. It's not just the oil or the gas which are under pressure. Growth of Western Europe has come to stagnation, clamping down to bring down the BRICS and dollars. In a way, hidden power of communists in a liberal way is pushing its muscle. Look at the whole structure. German government has no what are called teeth to bite because you don't have the raw material. You are big industrial country, Western Europe, with all the natural resources sitting outside the country. And now they're using that natural resource base on their strength to bring pressure on the whole of Europe. Europe is only, what, 10% less than world population. When we offer this alternative gas production to the Germans and the Austrians and the rest, they're not interested because they know it's too late. You can't patch it up. The story comes, what's going to happen after Christmas when there is a shortage of energy. Massive shortage of energy. As I said, I'm Iranian. I get a flight, I land in Tehran. How much gas do you want me? Go on the internet, we were just checking because of the gas prices units we are putting out. The price of a gas, I think, is less than 1 cent in Tehran you can buy. It's the structure we set up. We've got to realize, I was just sent by our knowledge seekers that the Americans have taken over the Russian oil, and another one says the head of Lukoil was found thrown out of the window in the hospital today. I work with Lukoil. I work with Transneft. I know exactly how they operate. I know the top management of the Lukoil and Transneft. I work with these people. I know the mentality. And I know what they plan. The global condition to be superpower has not stopped these people. Before was nuclear, now is oil and gas. We see the resolution to Iranian situation in the next few days. Everything is agreed. But would that solve the problem? Where do the gas tankers come to take all the gases? Where do the rest comes from? And you see, everybody's befriending everybody to benefit by themselves in one way or another. How do we see, how do we understand it? It's not telling you Germans, no, you decided to become the head of what we call European market in political and others, and now you stand at the head to take, as Nixon said, the buck stops here. Buck stops with Germany, and how you will respond. You're going to be much more cuts will come to Germany. It's not just this, you chipstick, they planned it for you before. My Mercedes went into 2 days working last year. There's not enough chips. If you go to any car hire company in Europe, before you used to rent a car for 2 or 3 months, they won't let you rent a car more than a month because they're not getting enough cars from the car manufacturers in Europe, and they try to give you the Japanese cars because manufacturers cannot produce enough cars. They don't have enough chips. So economical restrictions and sanctions, you shout about the Russian gas, see what they're doing with you with the rare earth materials and the chemicals and the pharmaceutical, which is coming one after another. The whole of Europe has been put under pressure because the Americans is quick. It's not that you buy gas from Americans the same price. Everybody's getting benefited by this war. Amazingly, they're getting benefited. There's a lot of profit in it for this few bullets, few tanks in Ukraine. Has a bigger plan behind it for superpowers. You ask our Chinese, have the prices of food tripled, quadrupled in China? As the food has reached beyond the reach of the Chinese? Maybe a few luxury items, but the rest no. China has absorbed it. It's not blaming, is understanding is the main point of where it's come. What is the next pressure on the Western Europe will be the food. But you have to wait for that one till next September, October, then you understand how bad it's going to. Have you asked yourself why tomatoes are getting so expensive, which is then basic diet in Europe, from 99 cents to 3.99, 4.99, 7.99. Most of the tomato growers in greenhouses use gas to burn, to create the CO2, to grow, and now the gas is expensive. That's why your tomatoes are expensive. And the rest. Any other question?
It's kind of ironic they're trying to get rid of the CO2 in half the world, and the other half needs it to grow the plants.
When we started this Keshe Foundation technology, near Antwerp, there was a tomato grower who got to know about our technology and became a knowledge seeker. And he invited me many times to his place, and he showed me how he has bought gas burners inside the greenhouses he had to grow. He had to burn gas to create CO2 for tomatoes to grow. And he wanted us at that time to give him a technology that he can replace this because it was costing too much for gas. That's how I know. With the trials we've done in different things, we learned a lot. And I remember speaking to one of the board leaders years ago. He said, you know something? I said, what? He said, people ask us how we know about everything. He said, because I'm on the top, everything comes here and I have to see and I learn everything, because at the end, if I don't know, I cannot make a decision. And it's the same with the Keshe Foundation. Everything test done, this done, that done with people, with knowledge seekers, with us, comes up and we see we have a very broad spectrum of the knowledge about everything. So we see it, what's happening. Going back into work with Transnaft and Lukoil, I've said that many times. I think the documents are still somewhere if it's not stolen. I am only person we know, I was told, and we know, that carry oil contracts in personal name. not company name. And with that, I had to deal with Lukoil. With that, I had to deal with Transnet. I know these companies to get allocations, to get shipments, to get export licenses out of different positions, to ship through canals. I have huge experiences, and limitation of knowledge is not with what you just said. If one day we find a document show you, you usually buy oil in the name of corporations. I was wealthy enough to carry oil contracts in personal name. I used to buy oil in my name. And all the documents, contracts are there. I used to know the heads of Lukoil. I met them many times at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with Transneft in the Austrian hotel in Almaty. That was where we used to decide, or allocation. Because allocations came, Russian pipeline, bringing all the Siberian and mixed oil, had to be given by Lukoil from Moscow, how much we could export out of Kazakhstan. They controlled the economy of Kazakhstan by the pipeline type and used to be part of it. When you work with the military leaders, before the revolution, before the opening, these people became the next leaders, and we carried down the same friendship. Any other question?
Okay, we have a question sent by Cristiano from JC or Jackie, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, from Brazil. And it's a multi-part question, so it has 7 parts. I'm going to try to put all 7 parts into just one question because it's all regarding one topic. So it goes like this. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am studying here, but a conceptual doubt came up and I don't know if someone could give me a guideline. The question is, what would deep space be? And for not knowing what it is, I ask, 2, where is it located? 3, how would it be accessed? 4, and what is it in? 5, what is its importance? 6, what does the process of transmutation have to do with it? And 7, how does the transmutation allow me to access it? These are all the questions about deep space.
Cosmologically, deep space, we consider anything beyond solar system and beyond Milky Way. It's deep enough. In a way, the distance is far enough. Forget about other galaxies and that, what I call deep state. But anything beyond solar system and our galaxy is considered as a big, as we call deep state. And the way you live in Brazil, if you want to see it, go to America, you decide how far and where you want to go in America or in Russia. And are you interested to go or not? We put many people in the flight system and say, we don't want to go anywhere, we just want to be here, but we want to go and see our uncle down the road who passed 10 years ago. So not everybody wants to go, but now the knowledge and facility is there for you, you want to. Any other question?
Okay, a question from Jefferson from Brazil again. Thank you very much for your presence among us. My question is, what should we do with the 5 cups and universe cup ganses? Should they be harvested to produce plasma waters? Goes on to say, you said that the 5 cups, if placed in a hospital, would end almost all diseases, and that the cup of the universe would also be the cup of youth. So can we make dynamic reactors with the GANs of these cups And if so, what would be the effects? Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, you can do any combination, anything you like to do. That's not the problem. And you decide what you want to add to it. The 5 cups, cup of universe is a combination of understanding the totality of the creation. It's not just a cup you put in there. The 5 cup is a man itself. What do you want to do with the man? Those of you who came to original exhibition center in design center in Linz were given an opportunity to go in a structure with a cup of life, with a 5 stackers. And people could feel it. But it wasn't done the way it should have been done. But people used to go in the center without feel it because you create a dynamic flow between the structures. I think there were 3 of them stacked up, and they were connected. You will see in the more or less the vertical operation of the system in the coming weeks in Linz. 2 vertical units are commissioned or under construction now that will do a lot of things which what we call the flight enhancement unit is supposed to do. In a more compact, more powerful way is said to be done. And we create that dynamism of the different stacks of the field. Knowledge is the same, depends how you use it, how you understand it, and how you apply it. And one of the things which we go back to is understanding in how the position will come in applying these gases. Doesn't matter you apply it in a gas water, you apply it in a dynamic system, you apply it in a gas system, or in a liquid system. How we see it will come. There's something I have to explain. We are trying, hopefully, next Thursday, if we succeed, our team are working on it. I know they're going to kick me. But next Thursday will be a blueprint day. We try, depends if all the parts and all the things come together. Even though we are supposed to show and release the combined gas energy unit by January of this year, we have brought the process forward that we might show it as a blueprint day next week. We just give you, it could be next Thursday, it could be next Friday, it could be the following week after it. But we try to bring not only that enhancement unit, what we talked about this morning, the energy unit to show the combined 5 kilowatts energy unit and the what you call the gas production unit is in the process of getting completely done. We pushed up by 3 months as fast as we could to complete it, that we can go for a mass production, that we can be by September, October into production. But once, if everything is planned for next 2 or 3 months, brought up forward now, next week we will show the combined gas and energy unit. And only comes by who books first, serves first. We received an order for a large quantity, past few days, and we've said to them very clearly, who pays, orders don't count. And this will be available if we can go into mass production, depending on the supplies. We even deliver in September, October. But we will show it first in the next coming days, that you can see what we're trying to do to run a cooker, that you can see you can cook with a gas. The same machine gives you electric cooker on the other side, and the lights and the heating, and 5 kilowatt is enough for a house. So if our team manages to complete it, we're pushing it to bring it forward by at least 2 to 3 months. We will show it as a blueprint. If you hear a blueprint next week, we'll try to show you the combined gas and energy production unit, because different part of the system come from different part of the world. If they arrive, everything else, the basic has been put together, and then you will see it, what we said, and it'll be on there. It'll be another option to the what we call the Western Europeans in a rapid way to be produced. Any other
Okay, we have a couple of hands up. One is Lynn. I'd like to go ahead, and we also have Jalal. And Salamia just put her hand up. Lynn, would you like to go ahead?
Okay, thank you, Rick. Thank you, Mr. Cash. So some Chinese is asking if this 5G signal will activate the graphene inside the vaccine and cause illness for people.
I have no clue about this. I can't tell you anything about it. There's a lot of things talking about these things, but we have no data, and we don't, what do you call it, get involved in it. You have to understand the vaccine in China is produced by authorization of the Chinese government, and majority is homemade. So there's implication and application of technology by your government, if there is such.
That was one of the very first things that was banned and censored, was this relationship between 5G and virus or vaccine. It's basically you're not allowed to talk about it even.
No. There is now we had knowledge seekers with us that are here with us in the teaching hour today. Many of the knowledge seekers have been hit with the new version of Corona, and many of them are reporting to us the effects which we've seen with the others: depression, suicidal condition, all sorts of things. And it's the same. We have seen the same pattern in Iran with disease. We've seen the same thing in China. We've seen in Brazil. We've seen in Europe. The new version of the COVID touches emotion, and it brings you to insanity. And it's the increase in the level of the fields that now has approached what we call the emotional level, which is higher than the physical condition. This is very clear to us. We've seen it. A number of knowledge seekers have been affected by it, and we guided them. We've seen in Brazil with a mother with a child of 6-year-old, other knowledge seekers asking for the picture of the child. These are all nonsenses. Never depart with a picture of your children to no one for no reason. We have given our guidelines, our understanding to the family, and they say they have seen a response immediately with the recovery of the child. I know a lot of you do by goodwill, but it can be other actions to it. Never leave, never give pictures of your children to no one to do nothing with. Doesn't matter in what level comes, even from the Universal Council or from anybody else. The new corona has hit the family, and the family and the child were affected badly. And it's a very simple process. We have put out in the things, and all our advice through the handling of the corona comes through his beloved friend, Dr. Ivan. He puts out as a doctor the solution which the Keshe Foundation has put out for these conditions, and soon we'll release the new one to Dr. Barapur from Iran. And he will explain the how to handle the new corona. And as a doctor, he always done in past 2 years. He's been a spokesman for the Keshe Foundation in new processes. And in the next few days, Dr. Barapur will again put out a new, what do you call it, procedure to handle the new corona with an emotion. We're waiting to see if it gets much deeper and we have more exact knowledge of how to handle things. And I said, our medical spokesman, Dr. Barapur from Iran, will release the new process to handle the new corona.
By the way, Mr. Keshe, I want to know what's the status of, you have mentioned the cooperation with Italian doctors for healing the patient. So is it ready when people can apply?
The Italians are supposed to see us next week, or is it on the 16th, and on the week after. And we have to see how they come up, because they come up with a new structure, strategy, and we have to see how they come up with. Originally, it was supposed to be one center. Now they have brought it back with many centers. And we have to see what they come up with and how they settle the situation. But it should be done very shortly. This month we are hoping. We entered negotiation with the Italians in one center, but now apparently it's many more of them, because they work on the license or ownership of a bigger chain. They wanted to win there, so now they're bringing their, what I call the boss. And once it's done, this will be immediate. But primarily it's for fibromyalgia and for other diseases, our agreement with the Italians. Any other question?
Okay, let's see here. Perhaps we can let Jalal go next if Lynn is done.
Yep. Let's listen to what Jalal has to say.
Hello, Jalal. Come in, Jalal. You may not be immediately available. Okay, we'll let that, keep that one open. Salamia, would you like to go ahead next?
Yes, Rick, thank you very much. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Hello, everybody. I'd like to pay some tribute to our light for peace, Mr. Gorbachev. I met him in the European Parliament in 2009, maybe, if I remember well, with the compact of the world for water. It was a lovely movement, I don't know, manifest for the water of the planet. It was an instrument to make equality and to bring justice, social justice at the planet level. And he was there, and not alone. He was with many other people, involved on this subject. And I was so impressed by him. He didn't talk. He was just there, present. And he was an accident of the history. In the direction of the peace. And we hope that such kind of accident will restructure the DNA of the history in the direction of the peace. I'm wondering if you as a genius, you can help humanity to restructure the DNA of the history to bring eternal peace. And now my question is about the relation between the flower of life and the DNA and RNA. I would like to understand better this link. Thank you very much. If you can do something for me, I will be happy. Thank you.
Flower of life is man-made, but the energy transformation in DNA RNA is a reality of working. And in some cases, fields interact and create new conditions. And then we can relate it or try to relate it to a structure. It's balancing of the fields. When you speak about RNA or DNA, and with the DNA, we speak about the conversion of the energy to a tangible condition. With RNA, we speak about the fields of that structure. And when the mankind understands this, we'll see the change in the technology and knowledge of the creation of what man tries to understand of. And so how the fields structure themselves leads into how physicality in the fieldless strength observation of the man will take shape, and we call it what we call DNA. And our desire to create a structure to serve certain purpose leads for the body to create that structure. But the fields of creating that needs to be maintained and kept and can be repeated. You cannot put every single cell of the man into an egg or in a sperm that it will replicate. But it's like you put all of the music in one CD, and one CD can do all the recording, have all the information on it, which you call RNA. So RNA and DNA, in a way, is the same thing, one in the matter state, one in the plasma or energy state, where by reduction it becomes a matter state from RNA to DNA. And how these position themselves creates whatever we want to call it, but usually has a uniform structure which leads a position of what we call a star formation. We always call it that it creates 3 base and 1 control and sharing all together. So the flower of life has no meaning in the world of creation. It's just man-made, explaining a physical observation of it. We don't see our skin in the shape of flower of life, or the stars shaped that way. It's a dynamic. They take position. This explanation of the what we call physical manifestation, we try to relate it to something that we can understand. But it's not a permanent shape. It's not how the universe works on it. We don't see everything circulates and as what you call a star formation in the universe. They take their position. They're in transition to make a stable condition, or they reach a stable condition. They stay there till an stability to come. Any other question?
Hello, Mr. Cash.
Thank you very
Hi,
much.
Jalal. Hi, Jalal. How are you?
Hi, Mr. Cash. Mr. Cash, now I know from your explanation why I couldn't, I kicked, I shout, I fight for coming to Linz since April. I have my old documents, it's unfolded, and I
Did
tried
you
my best.
did you get your passport?
No, I couldn't. And I think it is the purpose for me to be there is by what you announced today. I did want to come in physical, and I tried my best. In real, I tried my best, but I couldn't succeed. It needed maybe 1 month or 2 months more, maybe, if everything is okay. But I think the purpose of it, as you said, it's that I joined this mobile, and yeah, that will be. I will join that.
Just register and complete the process, please.
Yes, I
We
will
need,
do that.
we need 10 to 20 people right across the world to be able to do that.
Yes, I will do that. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Cash.
very much. Thank you very much. How is your hidden secret society works?
They are all over the world now. I cannot bring them in.
Have you managed to put your MAGRAF together yet?
Actually, Mr. Cash, I told you last time we are in vacation, and all the parts of the team, they are here and there. But I am sure I am back to work, and I am sure next week we will
You'll
join
start.
together. Yeah, we will start.
Okay. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best with it.
Thank you, Mr. Cash. Thank you, my dear.
Okay, we had a couple of questions, Mr. Kesh, about the system and what you talked about earlier in regards to the Linz situation there. Farzam Barapur in the chat asks, hello, Rick and Mr. Kesh, how can an Iranian knowledge seeker can register and pay the bill? Do they need to come to Linz at some point?
You can come to Linz or you can stay mobile. Keshe Foundation Iran has an account. You can pay to Iran account direct. You don't need to pay outside. Then we get informed by our team in Tehran. The Iranians, let me explain to you something very interesting, which I explained before. Keshe Foundation in Iran has now evolved into one of our main manufacturing and operation systems in Asia. And it's a registered company, and you can donate or pay to the Keshe Foundation in Iran to the accounts. It's on the website of the Iran Keshe Foundation, and they inform us, and then we process it as a mobile system. The Iranians cannot, it's very hard for them to come to Europe, especially to Linz. But in Iran, we can go through the process. You do the same thing as the rest do, but you make your contribution to what we call to Iranian Keshe, same as now with Brazil. Those of you who are in Brazil, you want to donate to Brazilian company of the Keshe Foundation. The beautiful news is, as we said before, you are now aware, the Keshe Foundation as a space organization in Iran, as a company, is registered. We're waiting for the final announcements of it in the next few days, and allows the company audit has been done, completed. It'll be the first Iranian space company outside the framework of the government. And now we are doing the same thing in Austria. The same thing is done in US. And this allows us to transfer space technology in all levels within the Keshe Foundation without the restriction for intellectual rights and all the other problems which we have with other countries, because it's all owned internally by the same foundation, same organization. So Iran Keshe Space Company is been established, and soon the same goes through with that, with what we call our team in Iran. Our work in Iran on the space robot will, once we are put everything in order, will be extensively increased. The same with Arizona and the same in Austria. As registered organizations, companies, and we can go into massive work in that level. There is something I have to explain, because I had to explain this recently to other knowledge seekers. The Keshe Foundation Space Institute is a broad-based structure. We work, for example, on the gas units and the energy units. We work on the space technology at the soul level. We work on the space technology at the physical level, what we call flight system, like UFOs and the rest. So we cover a multitude of different applications of the space technology. It's not just that you see what you see in lens, that's the ultimate knowledge. But we still have a structure and work in physical movement, physical motion of materials or people. There are two different knowledges, two different level of understanding. In the space technology, we still will develop shipments of goods, humans. You don't like to go with the soul. I want to make sure I'm with my soul all the time. I want to go the physical way. I want to receive my TV from the Chinese in Shanghai directly to my house in Tel Aviv or in New York. I don't want Amazon to be the middleman. So I want to go from Tehran to Brazil to see my cousin, but I want to be physically there. Or I can go a different way. I prefer to be 18 hours there or 10 hours there. I can do it instantaneously to myself. We are providing a broad-based knowledge technology. And to do these things, we need to develop technologies on the energy side. We need to develop technologies on the food side, on the health application. Everything we have to consider. And we develop. And the more broad-based we become, the more aspects of the what we call need of the man can be covered in it. So when we speak about the space technology, we're going to do this. It's just what's getting done. Even when you look at the enhancement units in DENS, there are physical structures we built. They're not just talks. You come into a room, you sit in the system, you apply a system. Now we can get the system physically moved, or we can get this physically produce energies. There is part of it. It has to be done. So, as a Keshe Foundation, we are broad-based knowledge, technology, space. People say, if you can do with the soul, why do you need the aircraft? People want to see where they are, what they do. When we proposed the flying car in Ghent University some 15 years ago, the understanding was a lot of people don't like to hover. They like to have wheels that they feel safe on the ground. And how much of it is good if you play a computer game whizzing around? But would you like to put the grandpa in the back seat and whiz around and see if he is happy and come out alive on the other end? And this is the extent of the technology. You have to satisfy all needs of the man and universal community, whatever it comes. Now, many technologies will come to us as we encounter with our other creatures of the creation. The magic has just started. Any other question?
We had another Linz question from YouTube. Win Thang asks, how many days should I plan to stay in Linz if I book for the vertical simulation? And if it's okay to go straight to the vertical unit if I had not undergone the enhancement unit?
You don't need to go through anything. If we don't see you prepared to go through the conversion, we put other things in it to be done. We had this with a guy yesterday and the day before. Very much in control, wanting to be in control of everything. First day who would not let anything go, and yesterday was totally different and slightly more. It's the way you try to control the emotion. If some people come in and they just even entering the atmosphere of the building, they start the process. It is how much you control everything yourself. You are the captain. We haven't advertised for the vertical situation yet. We're building it. We haven't advertised for anyone using it yet. Till we build it complete, done the way we want it, and then we advertise for it. We were looking at the center construction yesterday and the day before, where to put these two units. We cannot put them in the flight zone. They have to be outside, but we put them upstairs. Then we put them downstairs. There's so much electronics. What do you call it? The escalators, the lift. The metal structure around us is too heavy. If we move one person from one system to another, where to place it? We have not advertised for the vertical system, not yet till we are ready. It will be in the next, I'd say, 4 weeks, 6 weeks maximum. But the enhancement unit, we had a guy from Australia who booked 5 sessions last week and this week. The first time he was very excited. The second time was more excitement than whatever was there. Third time he couldn't go any higher. So he said, I'm going to leave my other 2 payments for mobile transportation, and I go back to Australia. Bring me back from Australia. I said, okay, he left yesterday. So he's actually leaving today or tomorrow from Austria. Some people book 3-4 sessions or 2 sessions, and it's all to what you achieve, what you want to achieve. But essentially, you're there for us to gather data and confirm the work of the system to go to the next level. Any other question?
Okay, from Antonio in the Q&A here in the Zoom. Mr. Kesh, my question is on electrical plasma, which is different to electricity of today or a higher electricity. Has the electrical plasma ever given a name specifically? In some circles, it is referred to as the technology of light.
I don't understand.
Has the electrical plasma been given a name specifically? Electrical plasma is different to electricity of today or higher electricity. Yeah, I'm not clear on what he mentioned, what he means there. Is he talking about just like a electron plasma, perhaps? Or, I don't know, you'd have to clarify better, Antonio. Perhaps you can reword your question. Okay, from Josefa from Brazil. A lot of Brazil questions today. Happiness to you and all seekers of knowledge. Is the behavior of the soul image that you described today, where there is interaction between two entities but cannot be seen in the protein-based view of man, as described in your book as the principle of translucent dark zones?
Repeat that.
Is the behavior of the soul image that you described today, where there is interaction between two entities, but cannot be seen in the protein-based view of man, I think he means same as described in your book as the principle of translucent dark zones. Translucent dark zones.
Translucent light, not the dark zone, is what we can see, but it's not there.
He mentions in the same chapter you described the science's most beautiful insight about colors and bright of dark universe not understood by man. Colors and brightness, perhaps, of a dark universe that's not understood by man. Again, maybe we need a little more clarification there. From Josefa. Okay, let's move along to Danilo in the same chat here, who asks or mentions each planet has its own specific emotion.
I fell out. Can you go back?
Oh,
where you're talking?
Okay.
I fell out in one of the systems.
Okay.
Can you repeat, please?
We were talking about Josefa and these translucent zones, dark zones, and it goes on to say in the same chapter you describe science's most beautiful, the science's most beautiful insight about colors and brightness of a dark universe not understood by men. Not quite clear to me. It's hard to read it clearly.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's talking about that there's more to be seen than through our eyes, and more beautiful insights that can be seen that are not part of our protein-based viewpoints, perhaps. In any case, Danilo has the next question, which is, does each planet have its own specific emotion?
What do you mean by that? A planet is like any being, of course. It has its own structure.
I guess we think of emotions like certain gods and goddesses are attached or identified with certain planets, and some of them might have, certain jealous tendencies or the goddess of love is Venus, and so on. Are there any particular emotions that you see are attached to any particular planets that way?
Yes, they do create their own attraction. They do, yes. A planet is like a human being. It has its own emotion, it has its own anger, it has its own clouds and whatever. We attract certain type of fields with it. That's why they behave in a specific way. I've said this before, when you look at the Saturn and Jupiter, and then you look at the Earth, and then Venus and the rest, it's like a different state of emotion as they go through and they join the mother in a center. The young one you see always are very active. They run, they create a lot of mayhem and everything else. We see it with Saturn and Jupiter. Young ones in the back, they gather everything, they create as many moves and many mayhem, huge explosions of whatever you call it on them, and then you see them as they get older, become like Earth, get closer to the final destination, they calm down a bit, and then they have nothing when they go in. There's no difference between the solar system structure and the life of the man. It's a lot of similarities. Wanting to own and control and have everything. And as we get older, we give up everything and we go closer to the final position.
Okay, Stephen
Okay.
Stephen in YouTube had a question. What is abduction? And another question: what are angels? And has Mr. Keshe ever had a physical interaction with such beings?
Pardon?
He says, what are angels? And has Mr. Keshe ever had a physical interaction with such beings?
No, yeah, the world is full of angels, depends what you call it. Every being is an angel. It depends how you see it and how you behave it.
Okay, Lawrence in the Q&A here is interested in what is the planned product timeline for the new devices. Now the energy unit is being released, later the food add-on for replacement of eating with energies. Then what is next? How do all these applications align with the bigger picture of universal change manifesting as the incorporation of the transmutation process into the plasmatic common denominator of created races?
The joy of physicality is chewing it, as I call it, and swallowing it. And you don't have that in the dimension of the fields. And just because we develop the technologies on the energy of food and transportation and transmutation, what everybody wants to use it and have it. It's there. There's more to come as we give the freedom. You got to realize, if you understood the rest of the teachings over past decades, people from the universe come to Earth, convert their souls to physicality of the Earth, to eat, to chew, to enjoy the pleasure of this planet. Man, at the point of today, won't like to put at cell level to see how far he can go, where he can go. But what happened when you reach like our people in yesterday, you come in touch with the soul of your partner for the first time in the room? What happened when you come in touch with the soul of a planet or star or environment that you want to enjoy them manifest in the physical dimension? Then you need to transfer. Then you need the facilities to be able to exist according to the strength of your soul. We provide that facility, or you provide that facility yourself if you know what to do. So excursion and conversion will be everlasting. What's the use of coming here, becoming shape of race of man, and not enjoying that bite and apple? Or enjoying the smell of the beauty of a flower? What did you come here for? Is it like the British who go to Spain and they always go to the same fish and chip shop? Why do you come to Spain to enjoy the Spanish environment, but you every day go to the fish and chip shop? English food, English breakfast. We have a beautiful Savior and the Savior says, if you want to enjoy and be part of it, take the totality of it. That's just what suits. And the job of the Keshe Foundation is that we provide technology, the knowledge, both for the man who is here physical, for those who become too physical to enjoy the life of man as man does, or for man who wants to go out and see what's outside. The totality of the understanding of the process is completion of the process in every dimension and every direction. It's when we become short-sighted, we only think about our own thing alone. And that's where the problem starts. And this is part of the what I call for you as knowledge seekers to understand the totality. And in that process, we have to look after everything a man needs at the point of need. So we do not go out of our way to create a condition which is half cooked, which is half done, and which is what I call not mature. But in the process, we have to create a condition that is not anymore beneficial only to the human race. The systems we put in operation has to be useful and applicable to all races of the creation. Even though now you're only interested in the enhancement unit or the power unit or energy unit, we have to create a condition that when we have the visits of the universe, when people come here to be part of us, do not go through the hardship of the man. Everything is prepared for them. Is when you invite a guest, you don't give them what you like when they don't like to eat it. You prepare everything. You prepare the best of the best for them. And this is what we're trying to do. Prepare man not only to have a pleasure of what you cook yourself, but it's good enough for the others who come here are, what do you call it, used to better standard or better living than us. So you've got to understand that's part of the work of the Keshe Foundation. We are accommodating the totality of not only for human race, but the what we call the totality of the race of the man and the races in the space. And when we do this, we have to understand exactly what we are doing, the way we are doing it, and the reason we are doing it. We are preparing man, and at the same time, not for itself alone, but for guests that the race will receive by introduction of the new technologies. And how fast we can get this done. How fast can we get these people, these beings and man, to become at the same level of understanding? It's no use bringing people who talk about different points of the universe when our people do not even understand such a point exists and the possibility of their life in these conditions. Then it all becomes magic. This is why when we started this process, we told you when you come out of the system, we listen to everything what you say and respect it. Because it's you who've been there, not us. It's you who have explored and allowed the dimension of your soul to expand to that dimension, to that understanding. Doesn't mean that every one of us can, unless we both decide to expand to the same dimension. So this is part of, this is understanding of, and this is the process of creation. We are preparing man to go out and preparing man to be able to go out to be part of this process of, you only look at yourself. When man goes to space or deeper space, we are looking at, we make everything prepared for man to receive visitors from the deeper space, the way they are used to. You know, nowadays when you go to a restaurant, to a hotel, they have a continental breakfast and they have an English breakfast in the corner, that if there are English customers here, they enjoy their food. Or if you want to taste what the English have for breakfast. We are preparing that English corner, as I call it. That when somebody comes, or if you want to taste that, it's there for you to enjoy that. Now I hope you understood. We are not just preparing everything for man to go out. We are preparing man to be able to receive new, what we call visitors, new dimensions in life. We are here to serve, not to be. We are here to serve and not to be served. This is our motto. We are here to serve the creatures of the creation, not just man to be served to help himself out of his own man-made disasters, I call it. Any other question?
A couple of quick questions here. One from Lynn in our chat. She's asking if someone has a tooth filled with zirconium, can they apply for the mobile test?
Yes. We passed those points. We carried people with yesterday I was told with the eye implant or something like that. We had people with a lot of things going through. We put restrictions for us to gain knowledge that our systems are correct or we have to change things. And now we have gathered that knowledge. So there is less and less things to, what do you call it, to consider.
Okay, another consideration with Dimitri in the chat here is, can the mobile experience go through the phone connected with the internet Wi-Fi without having the normal 4G cell reception?
Presume so. If we can reach you, we can get you.
Right.
A lot of people are asking that there is no entry for the Keshe Foundation new, what we announced today for the satellite. Just use the standard mobile confirmation, just put your things as no mobile. We have people who just wrote, we just registered. If you haven't paid, we just ignore it. This is the pattern. The Keshe Foundation system automatically considers it. We only see when it pops out as this process is completed. So if you have registered, I've registered. If you haven't completed the payment, it will not come up in our system. So, so you have to go through the full process. We only see when the process is complete. So if you just went there and registered, I want to be a sole form or trouble and not complete the rest of it, we don't see it on our system coming up.
Okay, so they have to pay the 2,000.
It's a standard. We even accept that the German community knows and the Italian knows. We accept people for what I call donation from the Keshe Foundation systems. Those are different than when we do things. It's not that we do everything for finance. This week, the German community collected for one person to go through the test, and the foundation offered parallel one, the same to anybody else the German community gives a donation to. We work in a very structured way. It's not that we are all financially positioned and no, because it has to be done the way it is. Everything is goes. Otherwise, we have everything give us free. Your knowledge is ours. We have to. Where can we develop the rest of it? So the structure is very, very clear, and it's set up. People who made a reservation, I made a reservation, yes, but if it's not complete, that it comes at the end of the system, the process has been completed and can match. We usually don't see it. We don't apply with it. And use just the mobile, as I said, they're trying to fix a new entry for satellite, but try use that one and put a message on it. This is for satellite test. So we pop out, we see it. I see while I'm talking in the teaching process, we go through a lot of communication in the background with everything from knowledges or knowledge seekers who want to share knowledge instantaneously with the responses to everything and to security calls and everything else. We respond to everything, but it has to be correct the way we structure, not the way you like to do it. I can hear you clicking away.
Oops. I'm trying to respond to Dimitri in the chat here, who didn't hear the question that he had about the connection with between the cell phone and the internet and so on. And your answer was essentially it didn't matter as long as the connection works. I was just going to state to him, in his case, his connection didn't work. So perhaps he better think of a different way of doing it. Because in the time of crisis where the answer was right there for him, his system failed. So it's kind of ironic. That's the test, though. You don't want to have it break down in the middle of communications, critical communications with Mr. Kesh on how to land on the moon or something, or how to more importantly, how to take off from the moon.
It's Moore's law, doesn't it? It happens when you don't expect it to be. Yeah, it's. I just received another communication from our team that they're getting requests. People, I think Antonio from Australia says, I have a mobile. That mobile test says mobile test. Satellite test is different. If they're trying to put up a satellite test on, we need the satellite test as part of our work, very urgent, needs to be done. And we tested because before we go into transmutation, we need this to be completed and to be done. That, put it this way, as I said to one of our knowledge seekers, that we don't want to bring part of you here. We want to bring all of you here. The system is set in a very beautiful way, maybe as part of the knowledge here. You understand how the transmutation work with us. When you enter the system, just 1 second, I have to check something. I'll close one thing before I go anywhere else. When you enter the system, we put you through what we call the expansion part, or we originally put you in the chair number 1, chair number 2, chair number 3, and the rest of it. But essentially was for us to see if we can interact with the physicality with our system, which the answer within the first day, 2 days came, that's okay. And then we put you through the other systems, the other chairs, to see if we can interact with your soul of physicality. And we heard people telling us the upper half was moving in chair number 2, but they felt everything number 3. So by building a system, if you remember, we started with one system on the left, and then we went to system number 2, because we had to gather more information, what we had to imply and apply. And then we added more things to number 1, and then we changed number 2, and we kept on going back and forth. Once we learned something, we added to the other one, and we brought it back forward to that. And in this process, we brought all these 3 into one headsets. And then this headset on the left, they start getting combination of different connection between the soul of physicality, and the physicality. And then we went to the point that we have no connection with any of them. So in the system on the left, we came that we connected the soul of physicality with the soul of the man, with the physicality of the man, and we watched it, and we saw how it performs. And then we eliminated direct use of these systems. Then, when I explained to you earlier on today that we put the people on hold was to keep them in a condition that, what do you call it? We don't move them out to the physical condition, but we hold them in the environment that the soul is still active till we want it, in a way of keeping it on the whole standard. The new structure which we are asking for you to join us is more or less we try to connect all of you to the system. And hopefully by next week, we have the whole system in a way that if I put it the right way, physicality and soul of physicality, what we're trying, or what is being designed now, is that we simply don't transmute you from one system to the other. What we will do is that in this system, we put you in and we expand, we allow your soul to expand with your physicality inside it. We do the same with this side. We allow your, in a way, your soul to overtake your physicality. That's why you sit there for maybe half an hour, 20 minutes, whatever. Then what we do, we've done a beautiful way of doing this thing, is that now we consider that with what we experienced yesterday and for our other work, we consider that nothing else exists in the room. This is how the new structure is. Then what we do is that we have systems set in the structure to transmute you between these two positions. The system has been built in a structural way that, first of all, we transmute, once the expansion takes place, the soul into this direction, to the soul level of the system, if you look at it. When we are satisfied that soul has moved and located in two positions with the things we set up, then we have systems built. It's a virtual systems. Then we go in for the soul of the physicality. We transmute the soul of physicality to see if the soul of physicality would like to accept the position. Then when we're happy with this, we go for the ultimate goal of physicality to be transmuted. And this is important to us, that we reach this position. We are not just carrying you zip across. We carry you in a system where you see, you feel first. The way, this is the reason we asked the couple to go together, where the two souls went together. We ask you both, in both chairs, if you have You're happy to be manifested in the other chair. And if the person or the soul in the other chair has arrived in the position and time, then we switch to the next one. And each stage has its own strength. He has own technology. It's taken me 40 years to develop this. There is so many universal system hidden inside this system. So when you come in, when you sit in the system, it's when we decide to move things forward. Then where do you come as satellite people? You'll be brought into the system. You're in Australia, another person is in New Zealand, another person is in New York. With combination, mobile communication we have with you, with the agreement of the soul prior to move, we allocate a person they choose. You remember the four sitting in the middle, the husband and wife, they chose. They chose they want to come to Australia. In this transmutation, we open a channel to Australia. If the person in Australia feels the soul of the person, have you arrived? Have we gone to the right destination? This part of the process we checked with Rick 4 or 5 weeks ago. No one of you understood what we were doing, but that was the purpose of it. Now we have the soul in a position to be in the other system or pre-agreed to be in Australia. We'll return the soul back to the system. Once we get the confirmation of both souls in our system and in Australia confirming, they feel each other, they are aware of each other's presence, the way it happened in the room yesterday. Once we establish this and see how much we succeed and how then we can transmute to this position or back to the original seat, then in the coming time with a mobile transmutation, we allow the people who go through this system, if they like, we have to adjust our systems. This is a literal physical system which is built to transmute the solar physicality when they can feel each other, they can see each other. If you came to the Lin Center, we asked you specific questions. Did you see anything or did you feel it? All the people in this system has seen it and felt it. People on this side, they don't see anything. They just feel it because it's meant totally for the soul level. Then when the person in the room tells us, yes, I can see, I can feel the emotion of the man in Australia, and the man in Australia tells us, I can feel and see the person, then we ask to switch to physical transformation. Then in that position, we should have no one in this room. And you physically manifest yourself in Australia. But the position is with customs and the rest of it, which we have to sort out, which is coming up for October. So what in fact you as totality are doing is, that's what we need to do. And we have proven we can do collective. So when it comes to the point of the disaster or whatever, we use these satellite souls to move as many as we can. Now you understand the crucial point of wanting and asking for satellite mobile situation. Mobile was for you, satellite is for humanity. When you're in Australia and you make a call to Austria, how many satellites are used to connect you to? This is the purpose. But when you are here, you are here. You cannot do anything. It's a physical communication. When you're on the phone, you're on the phone. When you want to go to Australia, how many airports you go through? It's the same. Now you understand the process, which from this week on, Keshe Foundation is set to do. When you come in to, or past 2 or 3 weeks, you have come to the exhibition center. Some of you who we saw, we can reach to understand. We took you back in the room and showed you the flight system set in. You physically seen the what I call satellite dish on top of the system. But many of you are not aware of it. It's just that you're too excited to sit in, you're not aware of what's going on. The transmutation system for this, without a control, has been sitting in there for past 3-4 weeks. So when you come into Lytton Center, is the process as, in a way, of the chairs. Why did we build the chairs? We brought you in, you sat in chair number 1 through the physicality, through the soul of physicality, through the soul of the man, and then we put you in the system. When you went into the system, you saw the expansion of the soul. What did you do? What did we do with you? We put you back in system 3, then to 2, then 1. Now you understand why we did this. It's exactly what we are doing here. We move you, we expand your soul to the dimension of the, what we call soul of the man with physicality, and then we move step by step. In the future, this will be done automatic. In the future developments and production of units, this will be done very much automatic. But now you see why we had the chairs, why you sat in chair number 1 and 2 and 3. Now, the same knowledge as 1, 2, and 3 transfers you back into the soul, into the dimension of soul of physicality and physicality. All this you see now, planned 10 years ago. The first flight system, the first what we call transportation system as a hovering chair, was designed to be shown in Hanover. Now, 2011, we are 2022. 11 years later. We had to get rid of the Belgians in our system to be able for you to get here. For 10 years, 11 years, I tried to bring this out. But every time, the Belgians had their mole inside the bedroom. They betrayed us. Now you have it. Now you understand it. Now you have seen the change Now you see, when we opened the enhancement unit in Design Center, why the lady called everywhere, produced 2 terabytes of information to Iranian government to get me executed, for humanity not to reach to this knowledge. They used to do it when I left the bedroom. Now they do it in public. Now you understand why so much was done to stop this technology. You remember they called the center to stop this, this is this, this is that. Now you see the devil. Now you see the prostitute. Now you see the betrayer. Now you understand how much you have paid for with this knowledge that been here years ago. Prostituting our knowledge with their governments to stop that they can carry on with the abuse of them. This is not, hasn't happened yesterday. Look at the transmutation, look at the flying system. It's all based on the same technology. Now you see it, now you feel it. The smallest nation in the world won the battle with the Creator, and they lost the rest of it. One of the prerequisites for saving Germany is dismantling of the state of Belgium. You will see we achieve whatever we said we achieve, we'll achieve. There should be no abuse of Napoleon Bonaparte left as a king, as an empire, for the rest of the humanity to suffer with. Now you understand what has been on the cup. When they knew we are about to release this technology in Linz 2 years ago, you saw the mayhem. Personal calls, writing, going to see ambassadors personally. I'm a State of Israel agent and the rest of it. Keshe Foundation will grow out of the State of Israel's funding and foundation and the work, because it's the place where Muhammad became a prophet, that Jesus came, and where the Moses appeared. If we deny the truth about our own existence and path of belief, what do we have left to believe? And this technology, what you see, this is what will bring man to the point of glory in the universe, and not the demise and abuse in the state of Belgium. Now you understand why we are so adamant, why we are so clear and continuous with this process step by step. That is understood, is now not a talk, it's a technology. The knowledge of creation has been translated to totality of the knowledge, and this will bring us new dimensions. This will bring us to understanding more of. This will bring us to seeing, understanding, being able to, in a way, communicate with everything which we need to know. What we need to know. The whole structure has to be systematic. understand the system, the reasons for the system, the process of creation, how life exists, how energy in life is created. How we create energy in our body, how we convert energy of the plasma to energy of the heat in our body. The process, the mechanism that the body of the man has chosen for this process. If I teach you that, you will throw the whole biology and chemistry of Book of a Man into the bin. This is the way we will transmute. This is the way we will transfer. This is the way we will understand this process. The transmutation has to convert into transportation. This is the way and the point of the maturity. We transmute you to the dimension of the soul. It's you who has to go through the transfer to physicality. That's why we call it transmutation and transportation. It's you who transfers that to transport your own soul of physicality, dimension of physicality, in the interaction with the environment of it. Why is easy for us in the what we call our system to do? Because we are in the same environment. As we showed yesterday, the people in the center have the soul touch, not the physical touch. So it's easy for me to do the first trials in the room, as the environment has been kept the same. That's why we do the transmutation trials in the house. We do the soul transmutation to outside, hopefully next week with the knowledge skills. When we do the first trials, we are happy, we understand it, the system responds correctly, we go beyond the boundary. Now you understand how complete this process is. How much has it been done in advance? In more, it's taken us 2 years from the design center to today. It has taken us all the knowledge to do just 1 second, please. We have to understand the condition. We have to understand the process. We have understood the completion of it. We had to find people who could understand, to translate, to transfer the technology, to translate it into a mechanical system, to translate it in a physical dimension. And that needs a lot of understanding. Any other question?
Well, we have no hands up and no open questions. There's a couple of comments I'd like to read. One from Kay in the chat, who says, bless your soul, Mr. Keshe, and all the challenges you've experienced in the past and all to come in the future. May the brightest light shine upon you to pave the way for your divine mission of the permanent world peace. And Peng Peter in the YouTube says, with your contribution to the humanity in energy, transportation, etc., it is beyond me that Mr. Keshe hasn't been recognized as the greatest scientist of all time. We have Dimitri with a hand up. Are you willing to take another question from Dimitri? Or would you like to wrap things up here, Mr. Keshe?
If there's no other questions that we come to an end, it's needed to crowd.
Yep, we're running a bit over time here for usual. Okay, let's let Dimitri's go for next week, perhaps.
If he's got a question, let's him ask a question.
Okay, go ahead, Dimitri.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. Thank you. My question is, with regards to traveling in space, you mentioned that souls travel in sets of 4 within the same magnetosphere. Could you explain a little bit about that, please?
What you mean exactly?
Well, you mentioned that within the magnetosphere of a spaceship, whether it be soul manifestation or a physical spaceship, I'm not sure what you were referring to. You mentioned that there is that souls travel 4 at a time. There's 4 of them.
In this test, there is a 4. We find the combination of the 4 as one of the best, because not all the souls are the same, and you go back to the star formation. And that's the reason. That's why in the flight system, we put 4 seats. We don't look at the position of the seats. We look at the structure of the, what you call the field dimension. That's what is important.
Okay, thank you. Just quickly, in our lifetimes, will we see a universal family openly visiting and interacting with humans within the dimension of Blue Planet Earth?
They've been here in the lifetime of your forefathers. You've been blind to it.
But in terms of the totality of humanity, there's not been
in totality has been a lot of interactions. It's daily interactions. Some governments are fully aware of these interactions. is not, is hidden. It's like the guy said, why the Keshe Foundation is not known. They let you know what they want you to know. There are amongst us, some of you listeners are part of them, born out of their interactions, are partially there. You already know the knowledge. And you are visitors. It's not hidden. To you, it must sound strange, but a lot of I explain this to one of my children sometimes. I explain it to you if you understand it. In England, when you go to Liverpool, you see different nationalities, especially a lot of Chinese. And now we think that Chinese are here, just now. But the Chinese have been in Liverpool for centuries. But they're stuck in that corner of the world, that England. If you go to Italy, is about the same. In Italy, we have different nationalities making the nation of Italy, as the Romans brought from different parts of the world. But we've been blind to it, we call them all Italians. Chinese in Liverpool, we can separate them because of the colors of the face and everything else. But Italians, you can't say to you they're all Italians just because they speak them, but look into their face. They're not Italians. Look at their features. They're not Italians, but we have accepted them as Italians. There are 200 races as part of the nation of today's Italy. Romans brought villages back with them to become part of them, to understand them, and brought them as souvenirs. Now they become Italians. And we don't know the difference. We just go to Italy. It's the same with the people from the universe. They've been amongst us so much, they changed the color of the yellow, black, white, and every other color. They're so entangled with us that we don't even see them recognize. But if you look into now, most probably, if you've been around your city in past 7 days, you've come across quite a few. Maybe you have even eaten with some of them. So when you speak this way, it means you have not understood. Earth is not isolated. It's a common ground for the rest of the rest of the universe, where people come and go and enjoy its beauty. It's us who's been ignorant to the truth. We chose to be ignorant. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
If there's no other question, we bring it to an end. And as I said, please go and register as a satellite member. We need it to do the process in the coming weeks, next 2 or 3 weeks. And we might call upon you for a long time as we develop, and somebody comes in and wants to go to Australia, we need somebody in Australia. Somebody comes in and says, I would like to go, like yesterday, the husband wanted to go to New York and the wife to Spain. We need somebody in Spain as much as we need somebody in New York. and it'll be a busy time for your soul. Even you might not be aware of it in the physical dimension. And I pay my tribute to His Excellency, President Gorbachev. And we hope and we know his soul has found a new dimension, higher than the Pope who brought him down, even though he's still a cleaner in the bottom of the pits of the universe. Thank you very much for today, and thank you for being with us to share that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. Thank you once again for another elaborate and wonderful workshop here. Let me get my screen up. There we go, the 448th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, September 1st, 2022. Thanks to all our knowledge seekers for being here today and asking the questions and for your comments. And if there's any further questions, you can save them till next week. I think we covered just about everything except maybe one question from Raphael, which can be brought over till next time. Okay, what other announcements we have coming up? Let's see what the date will be. On Tuesday, September 6th will be the next public teaching workshop, which will be the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice. And that is with members of the Universal Council and support members for the Universal Council. And we look forward to that. And I think that's it. Thank you everyone for attending today. And we'll go out with a couple of the flight unit videos and see you next time around. Thank you, Mr. Kesh. Bye now.